Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Jasween Kaur from University Business School, Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar. Today we are going to talk on module Physical Evidence from the paper Services Marketing. So students, let's see what we are going to learn in this module. First of all, we will comprehend the importance of service space in physical evidence. Then we will have a comprehensive awareness of the role of physical evidence in services marketing. Physical evidence plays a distinctive role in influencing the perceptions of customer and employees by exposing them to the critical objects of service space. Now let's understand, we are talking of physical evidence. What physical evidence is? Physical evidence is everything that a company physically exhibits to the customer. It includes the physical environment in which the service is being given of the service outlet, the exterior and the interior, all the tangibles such as machinery, vehicles, stationery, service personnel, and so on. It is often referred to as environment that facilitates the communication of the service. Elements of physical evidence. The elements of physical evidence can be broadly referred to as physical environment of the service unit and other tangibles. They include all the aspects of organization's physical facility as well as other forms of tangible communication. Now, when we understand service space and various tangibles, these include first, facility exterior, which includes exterior design, signage, parking, landscape. Next is facility interior, which includes interior design, equipment, layout, temperature, lighting. Other tangibles include business card, stationery, billing statement, report, employee dress, uniform, web page, brochures, and virtual service space. The elements of physical evidence can be broadly referred to as physical environment of the service unit and other tangibles. They include all the aspects of organization's physical facility as well as other forms of tangible communication, as discussed earlier. Concept of service space. The concept of service space was first developed by Booms and Bittner. They defined service space as the environment in which the service is assembled and in which seller and consumer interact combined with tangible commodities that facilitate the performance or the communication of the service. The design of the service space should take into consideration two important aspects: spatial layout and functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Spatial layout and functionality refer to the ways in which seats, equipments, furnishings, entrances, and exits are designed and arranged. Aesthetic appeal refers to factors such as surrounding, external environment, cleanliness, upkeep of facilities, etc., that influence customer perception and evaluation. Now let's understand the concept of service space. Service space is defined as the environment in which the service is assembled and which seller and the consumer interact, continued with or combined with tangible communications that facilitates the performance of the communication of the service. The design of the service space should take into consideration two important aspects. One is spatial layout and functionality, and second is the aesthetic appeal. Now let's understand the types of service space. Service companies design service space based on the nature of the interaction required for the service production and delivery. Based on usage, service space can be classified into three types. First, self-service technologies. Nowadays, every customer wants to participate in the production of service. We know in the current era of malls, everything is there in the shelves. We just go into the mall, buy our product and put it in a basket and come out. But you take the example of the small local Kirana shops which are there still in our localities. There also we would like to do the same thing because we want to involve ourselves in the creation and achievement of our service. Technology has enhanced the self-service concept. Usage of ATMs in the banks is one example. So these are the services which are dominated by customer presence in the service space and their actions. The customers acquire service on his or her discretions. ATMs, fast food center and movie theaters are the example of the self-service environment. Online booking, e-ticketing are also the examples for it. When we talk about interpersonal services, we have customers and employees interacting with each other. But where there's two ends are there in case of when only customers are operating and the other end when only employees are operating. So in case of when customers are operating, they are called as self-services, and in case when employees are only operating, they are called as remote services. So in case of interpersonal services, type of service space, both employees and customers are given adequate importance. The examples include restaurant, hotel, health clinics, banks and airlines. Next is remote services. In these services, only employees perform the action in service space as the services are used by customer from the distance. The example of remote services include telephone, insurance, utility services, mail order, etc. Objectives of service space. The objectives of service space vary depending upon whether service firm primary focus is on customers, employees, or the firm itself. The service space objective of the firm operating in the cost efficiency operational sector is to reduce costs and increase productivity. The first objective of service space is focus on customers. If the focus is on the needs of customers, then the service company has to accomplish goals like customer attraction, customer satisfaction, and customer retention. The second objective of service space is focus on employees. If the firm has chosen technical service quality, the primary goal of the service space is to focus on the needs of service employees, including employee satisfaction, employee motivation, employee operational efficiency. If employees are happy with the service space in which they work, they will produce a higher level of service. Although customer needs must be met, the emphasis on facility design with this approach is towards employees. Third point is focus on the firm. Firms using this efficiency operational approach will want to design their physical facility to focus on the needs of the firm. The objective of this physical design is to provide optimal cost efficiency and productivity. Dimensions of service space. Service companies often introduce changes in physical environment or surroundings to create an impression of newness, but many companies initiate these changes without properly understanding the impact of changes in the design of service space on the ultimate user of service facility. Critical analysis of various dimensions and strategic approach is necessary to design service space to achieve desired result. The various dimensions of service space can be ranging from ambient conditions to merchandising to various physical surroundings. Now this diagram shows the various dimensions of service space. The broad areas are physical environmental dimensions, holistic environment, internal responses, and behavior. In the physical environment, dimensions include ambient conditions, which include temperature, air quality, noise, music, odor, etc. In the space, will include layout, equipment, furnishings. In the signs, symbols, and artifacts include signage, personal effects, decor, etc. Similarly, we have the holistic environment and we have internal responses, which can be categorized into cognitive, emotional, and physiological level. In case of behavior, we have individual behavior, the behavior of affiliation, exploration, stay longer, commitment. And we have other aspects of social interaction, that is between employees and customers. So the employee responses and customer responses in the perceived service space will lead to a proper physical evidence and detailing with the employees. These dimensions can be discussed as ambient conditions. Ambience represents the surrounding atmosphere of a service space. Ambient conditions affect customers and employees physiologically. These factors include, as discussed in the diagram, temperature. That temperature exists in the service environment has the capacity to influence behavior. Quality of air. The quality of social interaction will be greatly influenced by the quality of air. Noise. The noise level ranging from absolute silence to high decibel sounds will have influence on the behavior. Noise may be external as well as internal. If the noise is internal but unavoidable, care must be taken to reduce the effect by using soundproof material or keeping the customer contact point away from the generator place. If the sound is from outside, it is better to avoid such location or to use soundproof material to minimize the disturbance. Noise and loudness of such sound have usually been perceived as irritating and annoying. Two components of sound are volume, which relates to amplitude and height of sound waves, and pitch, which is the frequency of sound waves. Loudness is perceived as negative stimulation, especially when sound is unexpected and is subjectively perceived as undesirable. Too much sound may result in decreased concentration, increased activity, irritability, and tension. Music. Music is a very powerful stimulator of feelings in human beings. People have difference in music choices. Studies on music and consumer behavior have demonstrated that music can be used as an effective tool to minimize the negative consequences of waiting in every service operation. Smell. Different likings as well as smell is concerned. A right combination makes the environment pleasant. The next major dimension is sign, symbol, and artifacts. Signboard displays on the exterior, poor interior provides explicit communication. Signs, symbols, and artifacts influence the formation of first impressions of customers. Signs provide relief to such a customer who are poor communicators and are not comfortable interacting with others. Sign can also be used to reduce perceived crowding of physical structures at work. The quality of materials used in construction of physical structures at work, the presence of certificates and photographs, the floor covering, the architectural and values communicates symbolic meaning and create an aesthetic impression. Signboard displays on exterior and interior, as said, provide explicit communication, and when the customers are not familiar with the service environment, they look for environmental clues for help. Space and functional conditions. The living space and functional support facilities form an important part of the service space. Following are the important factors with regard to space function on the behavior of employees and customers. First is layout and design. The layout should be spatial, which refer to ways in which machinery, equipment, and furnishings are arranged and the size of the shape of such items and relationships among them. Second, equipments. Service firm should acquire such equipment that facilitate accomplishment of customer and employee goals. These should be customer friendly. Furnishings. The provision of furnishings, their quality and maintenance has an impact on the behavior of the people who use them. Color. Color influences the moods and emotions of the service consumer and thereby their attitude towards the service and the perception of the service experiences. So the color must pervade every aspect of our lives, give beauty and drama to every object. Lighting. Lighting provides cues for defining and perceiving the quality of space and influence customers' awareness of physical, psychological, and spiritual aspects of the service space. So all these elements of service place have an impact on service delivery. Interpersonal conditions. These conditions either create either cognitive effect or the affective effect of responses which in turn lead to specific behavior. These include: first, employee appearance and behavior. The appearance of employees will often affect the customer's cognitive beliefs about the quality of service they will receive. The employee moods and behavior impact customer. Second point, impact of crowding. Crowding normally produces negative reaction and avoidance behavior. The customer's perceptions of crowding are affected by shopping motives, environmental clues, constraint and expectations of crowding. Location. While choosing a site location, services must examine 6 criteria which are as follows. First, operational position. Service firms usually costing the efficiency approach and they used this cost efficiency approach must locate business where they generate high volume of customer traffic, whereas firms using customization approach will locate the business where they can obtain prestige image that will impress their customers. Merchantability. It refers to distance from which customer can make a transaction with a firm. Services high in merchantability can be conducted without the customer being physically present. Accessibility. It refers to ease potential buyers have in approaching, entering and exiting the service business. Traffic inspection. It refers to the type and volume of both vehicular and pedestrian traffic that passes the business. Service businesses that rely on volume must be located where large number of vehicles and pedestrians pass through their facility. Next point, compatibility. It refers to the degree that businesses interchange customers. The more business interchange customers, the greater the benefit of being in complementary cluster with other business. So the location has an impact on the service space and its physical evidence. Role of physical evidence in services marketing. Shaping first impression. Customers form initial impression once they are exposed to the exterior and interior of service outlet. Managing trust. Physical environment and the tangibles used in service processes stand as clues to customers, facilitating quality of service. A good service space facilitates employee customer participation in the service production, delivery, and consumption process. Changing the image. A change in the physical environment has potential to change the image of the service outlet and the service provider. Providing sensory stimuli. The aesthetics of the service environment has the potential to stimulate the senses. Such stimulations support the customer in participation of service production and quality perception. Socializing employees. Many services need employee cooperation and coordination in creating quality experience to customers. So we need to understand what is the role of physical evidence in services marketing, because it is the bondage between the employees which helps in dealing with the customer and providing a definite role in influencing the perception of customer, and employees are the critical objects of service space. Framework for understanding service space effects on behavior. The framework for understanding service space effects on behavior follows from basic stimulus organism response theory. In the framework, multidimensional environment is stimulus, consumers and employees are the organisms that respond to the stimuli, and behaviors directed at the environment are the responses. The design of service space and interaction of consumers and employees provide profound effects on the behavior relationships in service industry. The framework includes multiple elements of service space. Internal responses. Service space do not influence behavior directly. Rather, physical environment influences behavior through internal states that are caused by it. It is these states that in turn affect behavior. Internal responses further consist of three types of, which are: first is cognitive response. These responses are the thought process of individuals. Firm's physical environment act as non-verbal communication and helps the customer to form the belief regarding the quality of the service. Emotional response. Physical evidence of the service provider must stimulate pleasing emotions that can create an environment where customers wish to come. Physiological response. Physiological responses are linked with physical comfort and pleasure. Physical environment should be friendly and comfortable. The next point is behavior in service space. Physical spaces and designs put greater effect on consumer behavior. This part includes two aspects. First, individual behavior. Individuals react to places with two general and opposite forms of behavior, that is, approach and avoidance. Approach behaviors include all positive behaviors. Avoidance behaviors reflect the opposite. The physical settings can influence the perception of the consumer and the ability of the employees to do their job effectively. Social interactions. In addition to the effects on their individual behavior, the service space influences the nature and quality of customer and employee interactions. Most directly, in interpersonal services, it has been stated that all social interaction is affected by physical container in which it occurs, in terms of the duration of interaction and the actual progression of events. Guidelines for physical evidence strategy. Physical evidence management is critical for the success in service business. Some of the guidelines for effective physical evidence are: first, recognize the strategic impact of physical evidence. For an evidence strategy to be effective, it must be linked clearly to the organization's overall vision. Thus, planners must know what those goals are and determine how the evidence strategy can support them. Map the physical evidence of service. Everyone should be able to see the service processes and the existing elements of the physical evidence. An effective way to depict the service evidence is through service map or blueprint. Clarify the strategic lore of service space. Physical evidence is not equally important. So students, let us now summarize what we have learned in this module. We have understood one of the most important element of marketing mix of services marketing, that is the P of physical evidence. The service product features may be plenty, its pricing may be competitive, it may be promoted and advertised in an effective way, its location, place may be also convenient. The person who is delivering the service may be capable and trained. Its process of delivery may be foolproof, but the environment in which the service is being delivered, if it is not proper, if the layout is not proper, then the customer is not likely to come and take your service again. For example, if we talk about various branded hospitals, for example, we take the example of Apollo Hospital. Now, Apollo has a name. Hypothetically, if Apollo Hospital has a branch in one of the cities, which are two-tier cities. Now we know if the Apollo Hospital in Delhi is there, it has a clean environment, its location is convenient, but if we go inside the hospital, its room service, the various facilities which are given in the room, the staff, the nurses, they all are efficient in dealing with the patients. The facilities and infrastructure in the hospital and in the patient's room is effective. But if the same branch is open in any small city and if the facilities are not being given, then the name of that hospital will not work. So the interior, the inside of the service delivery, where the service is being provided, does build the image of the company. If the seating arrangement, the lighting, the ventilation, the various layout and designing of the service space is not effective, the physical ambience, the conditions, the noise condition, if it is not there, if the temperatures are not controlled, the service received by the customer may not be taken in the proper light. How much trained the employee may be. If employee is talking to the customer and the customer is not comfortable there, he will not hear to the service provider. Probably will have a negative image of the service. So physical evidence of the service that serves as the primary clue for setting customer expectation before the purchase. These tangible clues, particularly the service space, also influence customer response as they experience the service. For example, we take another example here of a hospital or a hotel industry. Now, in case of, we talk about different hotels here, and we take we book a room or we go to a hotel. What are the preferred criteria there? 1, good food. 2, good service. 3, good room facility. Now, the combination of all these will make us choose this particular hotel. Now, the client or a guest of the hotel, he books a room. And once he goes into the room, he does not find the bed to be clean. He does not find the washrooms to be clean. He does not find the specifications which are displayed in the advertising of the hotel. Sometimes we see that service companies advertise and they spend huge amount of money on advertising. And when it is advertised, they set huge promises of getting this service. The hotel may be shown as a very, very premier hotel or a 5-star hotel in the picture. Once the customer or the client goes there, you find The hotel may not be even 2-star standards. So it's a negative image of the particular service industry. So the service marketers need to understand that it is not only giving features to their service, it is not only having a competitive price, it is not only having a trained staff, but the place, the interiors of the service delivery place is equally important in adding on to customer experience, because customers and employees often interact in that service space. The direct interaction between the service provider and service customer takes place in that environment, because service is an interactive process. So the physical surroundings influence employees and the nature of employee-customer interactions. So service space is the main factor in influencing the quality, judgment of the quality of the service, and thereby leading to customer satisfaction if it is positively derived, or it otherwise will have a negative image of the service.